Hi there. Have you ever come across a piece of wood that has a weird grain to it, and no matter which way around you plane it, you get some tear out? And you may have seen on the internet people use things like this. This is I refer to it as a card scraper. It basically has a burr on it. Now, if you've tried this and you've been unsuccessful, it's one of those things that looks very simple to sharpen, but it's easy to overdo it, if you like. So I thought today what I would do is look at sharpening these, but do a bit of an experiment at the same time to show how overdoing it actually ends up with a worse result. Now, for anybody that hasn't got one of these, have you got one of these? An old, cheap, worn out saw, the ones with the hardened tips. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them, but they have their uses. And one of them is you can cut up the blades, that's the big piece of one, and make a card scraper out of it with an angle grinder. And we will look at that. But first of all, let's look at sharpening this. And what do you do to sharpen it? And the first thing you have to do is prepare the edge. And I'm going to do the two long edges on both sides. But the first part of it is very simple. Pop it into the vise, like so. Now, I've got an ordinary file here, and I've cut a groove in this piece of wood, and it just is exactly the right fit for this file. It helps you to go, because you want to file at 90 degrees to the side profile. And if you put that on there, you can literally go and depending on how good the edge is to start with, it will only take a few strokes to get it nice and cleaned up. So I'm going to do both edges, and you'll see why I'm going to do both edges in a minute. Same thing again. 4 strokes, that's all I've done on each side. But this one has been used quite a bit and is in good condition. The sides of it just need to be clean, basically. That's all they really need to be. Now I've got a diamond stone here, and I'm going to, this is the 400 grit side. I'm just going to put a bit of window cleaner stuff on it, and I'm just going to rub it along this, because this is a lot finer than obviously that file is. Now there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can try and hold it at 90 degrees and go up and down. Kitchen roll to clean it up with. Same on this one. You can go that way if you prefer. Straight on. The wear is even. Okay, now I'm going to lay it flat, because there is a little bit of a burr there, but I'm not interested in that burr. That won't give us what we need. I'll take the burr off that side and that side, flip it over the other way. Just so we're using all the stone, flip that one that way. I'll turn everything round. And there we go. Wipe that off. Now that's at 400. We could refine it a little bit further. We could flip it over again and go to 1200. I mean, depending on the setup you've got. What we're looking for is a nice, refined, clean edge. That's what we want. I'll flip it back again. Working my way across the stone and then onto its side. Remove any burr that might have been created. And let's look at that one. And there we go. Right. Just remove all this fluid off it. I don't want all that on there. Move the stone out of the way. That's done with now. Okay, so we've got our card scraper and the edges are all prepared now. What I'm now going to do is take a burnisher. Now, this is actually a proper burnisher, although I've never understood why this one is curved. I came across it in a second-hand shop somewhere and thought, oh, that's interesting. And it works a treat. At least I assume that's what it is. That's what I've always used it as. I've always used it as a burnisher, but maybe it's a tool for something else because it's got a groove in the back of it as well. So if anybody knows exactly what that's supposed to be, please let me know. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is let's bring the camera in close so you can see this bit. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's actually raining at the moment on the roof, so hopefully it's not too distracting. We've prepared this now in terms of it's all, the edges are clean, we've had them on the diamond stone, they're prepared. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to write on these. I'm going to put A on one side and B on the other side. Just, I mean, you can do all four faces at the same time, but I'll just do two because it's the same thing repeated. Now what I'm going to do is take the burnisher. I'm going to put this down on the bench. I'm just going to tip the camera down so you can see. There we go. Move the stool out of the way. And I'm going to literally run the burnisher along this edge as flat as I can get it. And in fact, I'm going to turn it this way, then I know it's flat. About 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's about 20. Flip it over and do the same on the other side. 1. I hope you're counting on the last one. Okay, now then, this is the point where most people go wrong. Let's pop it in the vise. First thing we need to do is we've compacted the metal, if you like, in this direction. Right? So you will feel something on that very top edge. What we now want to do is bring that edge over to form a little hook. So the first thing I'm going to do is so I'm still at 90 degrees to these faces, is I'm just going to run the burnisher across here a few times. And if you run your finger on it now, you notice there's a slight burr there, but that's not what we want. We want more of a hook. So what I'm now going to do is do about half a dozen strokes at an angle. 1, forgot that might have been a bit more. Right, well, that was definitely 6 on there, and I think I was nearer 8 on the B side. So we'll find out which one works the best. I'm going to pop a piece of timber in there, and this is a piece of sapele, so it's a relatively hard wood. I'm going to try side A first. And basically you just flex it slightly in your fingers with your thumbs in the middle, and it's a case of establishing the correct angle, and at this stage I don't know what that's going to be. It's quite low down in this case. But I'm not really getting much. I'm getting a little bit of shave, of dust. Now look at that side. That's what we want. So basically, we burnished along that face flat for 20 strokes. We then did about 6 that way, and then at an angle like that I did 8 strokes, and at 8 strokes I got beautiful curly shavings. On side A I used the burnisher at an angle like this and I did 6 strokes, but that wasn't quite enough and all I could get was dust, and that is usually what a lot of people get when they try this, because and then they think, oh, I'm no good at it, I'll give up. On the B side I literally did exactly the same thing, but I went 8 strokes, and those extra couple of strokes made all the difference between getting a proper shaving as opposed to dust, and that's all it was. But whatever you do, don't keep going like that thinking, oh well, I'll do more and more strokes, because then the metal starts to curl right over, and at that point it won't do anything, it'll just slide up and down the wood. You're looking for a sweet spot, and that's the secret to a card scraper. But once you master it, it might take you 2 or 3 goes at different sharpenings. And what I suggest you do is prepare both the top and the bottom edge, and then do different amounts on each and just number them or letter them up and find out which one it is that works for you. And if you haven't got a proper burnisher like this, just get a screwdriver that's got a hardened blade and that will work fine. But if you haven't got a card scraper, but you have got a tatty old saw like this one, if you look at that one, there's almost no teeth left on it, they're completely blunt, all the hardened bits have disappeared. I've got another piece over here, because I keep those old saws, and if you look at the teeth on that, they've almost completely disappeared. That's still got some teeth, it's got virtually nothing. But that will make you a card scraper, and all you need to do is get a metal cutting blade with an angle grinder, and you can cut yourself out a scraper. This one's quite a small scraper actually. I normally make them a bit longer, sort of 6 inches, 6.5. This one's a little one. It's only 4 inches, which makes it a bit harder to flex it. If it's a bit longer, it's easier to flex the metal if it's longer. But try it. If you've got that awkward bit of grain, no matter which way you plane, a card scraper can be your friend. Anyway, I'm Dave. I'm the skilled woodworker. Thanks very much for listening. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. And thanks very much for watching. Oh, I also like to give a shout out to both my members and all the other people that support the channel. It's much appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, until next time, thank you. Take care now. Bye.